Salute, General, Iro, Musa, Etiquette. I'm affectionately referred to as General Etiquette, and I've been thinking. I've been thinking about a variety of subject matter, but today specifically, I've been thinking about what everyone's been talking about. Derrick Jackson. Now, for those of you who are less familiar, Derrick Jackson is a gentleman who's on YouTube, on a variety of different social media platforms. He's written several books and amongst other things, and he speaks to women directly about the indiscretions of various men. Now, there's a lot of complaints about the gentleman, oftentimes coming from the manosphere and other men complaining that he panders to women, right? Oftentimes not holding women accountable, but just simply blaming the men and telling women what they want to hear, right? So, and for all of us, right, or for those of us who fancy ourselves to be more centered in our thinking, we understand that in order to impact community, accountability has to be taken and held on both sides, because it's very, very necessary, because there's ways in which both black men and black women can contribute to the dynamic that we currently have. With that being said, right, from my vantage point, the reason why this is even a thing is because Derrick Jackson is very, very visceral in his remarks and his comments toward the men who are apparently effing over his consumer base, right? So a lot of the times, right, when he's talking to women, not necessarily being fair in how he's balancing the scales, he vilifies and makes villain of the men that he's talking about. So the reason why a lot of people are in uproar right now is because he's been found out to be the very thing and the very person that he's been warning women about, right? And what I find a little bit more insidious than that is he's actually using a lot of the same psychological tactics in order to finesse the women that he claims F-boys use, right, to finesse women out of whether that be sex and or anything else that they may want, right? So do these types of men exist? Of course, right? There wouldn't be so many people who watched him if they didn't, and there wouldn't be something to talk about if they didn't. But the idea of hypocrisy is what people are clinging to. It's not that the message is not true. It's not that women shouldn't be empowered. It's not that people shouldn't keep their eyes out for red flags and that people shouldn't keep their head on a swivel. You have to. Unfortunately, this is the world we live in. Everyone doesn't have the best of intentions for you. And then also sometimes things also just don't work out. But what's really, really problematic in my humble opinion is that this gentleman essentially, right, comes across as a narcissist. And in his last video, he's even speaking in third person. See, what I get from that is he's playing a character, right? So when you hear about all of the exposure, right, the side mistresses and the different things, whatever it is that he was getting into, and then he made a reaction video to his sort of apology or PR attempt to address the situation, I thought that was particularly odd because it almost seems as if he was able to look at the situation from outside of himself, not because he has the capacity to differentiate between obviously reacting to a video that is his, but this idea that this is a character that he plays. So much so that he can hop right back into character and react to the very video. So I found that extremely odd, extremely troubling. Honestly, right, the message, what he's oftentimes telling women, of course, right, who could speak against the message? Who could speak against people being empowered, right? People loving themselves, people looking for the best in terms of how other people treat them. But historically, we've also expected the carriers of said message to not be perfect, but live in your authenticity. Not be perfect, because no one is perfect. I'll be the first to tell you right now, I'm not perfect. But we always expect said individuals to live in their authenticity. So the reason Derrick Jackson, and I'm sure he knows that so many people are in an uproar, is because he spent such a long time really making money, vilifying men, unbalancing the scales of accountability and really telling people what they wanted to hear in order to profit. And that's a con. And he is a hypocrite. So to Derek Jackson, I don't know how he's going to navigate this situation, but it's something that's been on the minds and or the tongues of a lot of people. Like I said, or follow me on Clubhouse, by the way. The Kevin Speaks on Clubhouse, the Kevin Speaks on Instagram, the Kevin Speaks on all social media platforms. But like I said, there's been a lot of fruitful conversation, and some of which include, is the message diluted by the fact that the messenger is a problematic or flawed individual? And the answer is no. The message is as potent as the message is. Truth is truth, regardless of who carries it. With that being said, when you profit off of a community, when you profit and sort of prey, that's sort of predatory, right, practices, when you prey on the insecurities of particular people and are clearly and flagrantly living in opposition and contradictory to the lifestyle that you profess should be lived by other men, you lose my respect, and I'm sure you've lost the respect of a lot of people out there. So, like I said, I don't know what the brother is going to do in order to revive and or salvage his career and or marriage, if that's important to him. But yeah, that's how we feel about it. That gentleman is a hypocrite, and it takes me back to an old adage that my mother used to say, right? Well, not used to, that she still does. You can do whatever you want, just not as long as you want. And with that, I bid you a good day. Salute, General, Iro, Musa, Etiquette.